Hello everyone, it's me again, Alex Axe, also known as Alex Wells, and it's sure a Monday, isn't it? I'm hoping that y'all had more of a weekend than I did, because it wasn't like, well, I mean, I worked on Saturday, and my Sunday wasn't terrible, but it's also just when you only get the one day, it just doesn't feel like much of a weekend. It's like there was a brief pause and now I'm back at work. And plus, I had all my boring adult shit that I just wanted to get done this weekend, and it did not happen, because by the time I got to Sunday, I was just like, this is the only day I'm getting off this week, so I'm going to sit on the couch in my pajamas with cat on my legs and read some books. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It just means that, you know, stuff didn't get cleaned and baseboards didn't get painted, and now I'm going to have to find another time to do with that, so... Also, it is the Monday, if you're American, before a major holiday, so if you're feeling that existential dread, I believe in you. I believe in your ability to get through this. You are strong, you got this, and I totally believe in your ability to fight your asshole relatives over the turkey. Kind of speaking of things that you might start an argument with your asshole relatives about over the stuffing. Today is also November 20th, which is the Trans Day of Remembrance, and that's the day that we remember our trans brothers and sisters and siblings who were taken from us with violence in the last year. This year, the number for the U.S. is 25, and of course, that's the numbers. The number in actuality is probably higher, but you know, there are reporting difficulties and things like that. And that's higher than it was last year, which was higher than it was the year before. And it's become very clear that, you know, I do want to say that there is still a shitload of homophobia in this country, and there are places where it's very bad to be anyone who's queer, and there's, you know, the society still has homophobia issues and all that. But it's become very clear that politically the culture war has kind of moved on from marriage equality, because I think they've just realized that they have lost that, and they're not getting it back. And there are things that we could talk about with the focus on marriage equality as being a little problematic. But obviously the new culture war frontier has become trans people, and especially with this, you know, and not just, you know, so trans people in general, but obviously the targeting has gone onto trans women, and particularly trans women of color, but trans women in general, because we're talking about things like, you know, this defamatory, ugly, bullshit bathroom bill stuff that keeps coming up in a lot of states. And, you know, there's also Trump going after trans people in the military, and just all of that stuff. Like, that's become the new frontier of bigotry. And the focused attack on trans people is causing more violence against trans people. Also, I want to mention that there's some of it coming from inside the house, because there's those turf-tastic people in, you know, the queer movement that are like, oh, we should drop the T, which is like, you need to stop. Like, what, now that cis queers got what they wanted with marriage equality, it's time to throw the trans people that supported you under the bus? No. So, I want to encourage you if there is a Trans Day of Remembrance ceremony in your area, please go to it, even if you're not trans. Actually, especially if you are not a trans person, because trans people need you and need your support. Defend trans people. Remember always that trans women are women and trans men are men, and don't let anyone say otherwise. Don't laugh at or encourage transphobic gross jokes. Harass your elected officials if they are being bigoted assholes. And, you know, just show your love and support, because it's important, you know. One kind of cool thing I found out is that this year was the first year that the Denver City Council recognize the Trans Day of Remembrance officially. They issued a proclamation at a 13-0 vote to recognize the day. So I know what I'm going to be bothering my local city council about next year, and you know, you do it too, because little things do matter, and saying we see you and you are important matters. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Please forgive me. I just don't want to spend the rest of this, you know, like bawling my eyes out. So instead, I want to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about some writing stuff. This weekend, I saw Kevin Hearn talking on Twitter to somebody about this person wanted to like kind of up their writing game so they could write more words per day. And I want to say, like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, and it kind of makes sense that is coming up as something people are talking about during Nano, when it's like, you know, the emphasis is very much on just like producing volume. But I also kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about that in general. Like, it is possible, and to make it kind of train your brain up to where you can write more words per day. It's, you know, almost just treat it like weight training, where, you know, you have your floor and you just sort of work up to getting more and more, like weekly or whatever works for you. But I also want to say, don't get focused on a number. You know, almost kind of like when we're talking about like your weight management for health. Like, the number will psych you out. And you know, if you're a very goal-driven person and you're like, I want to get like X number of words by blah, and that helps you, there's nothing wrong with that, because everyone has a very different process. But don't let it become like a thing that you beat yourself up about either. And, you know, for the most part, like, I've worked up to where I can get to like 2,000 words a day before my brain starts feeling kind of oatmeal-y. And then I have to be like, I need to stop and I need to go read something, because, you know, I am starting to sort of lose it and I need more words for my word bucket. But I'm a write every day person, actually. And I am not saying that you need to write every day. Do what works for you. Don't feel bad if you don't write every day. Take breaks if you need them. Please don't like make me feel weird for writing every day and not taking breaks and telling me that I should be because I'm being unhealthy. Like, let's all get along. But, you know, there's also, there are plenty of days where, you know, my write every day consists of like 250 words that I dash off in the 10 minutes before I go to bed, just because I want to have something down. And I also want to note that there are times where I'm not even writing on my main project or whatever my freelance work is, because I'm like not feeling it, or I'm stuck, or I'm mulling something over. And I always have a side thing that I'm working on that's just there to be fun. Like, I'm never planning to do anything publishable with it, probably. I'm just writing it so that I have kind of a fun, fluffy thing that I can write if I'm not feeling anything else. And that also, you know, that if it counts for you, it totally counts. And it's, you know, it's okay to also know that your output is going to vary. Like I said, a lot of days, you know, it'll be like 250 words of a thing that's not even related to my main thing I'm working on, and other days it'll be like 2,000. And then I actually have this thing where, like, you know, for me, it depends on where I'm at in the book, actually. Because, like, the first act, I'll, like, be cooking right along, and then I get into the second act, and I hate everything. And, of course, it's the longest part of the book, and it takes me forever to write, because I'm kind of crawling along, being like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I hate everything. This is terrible. And then, you know, once I kind of get up the uphill, and suddenly I've managed to get everything to come together, and I know where I'm heading, and I'm into the third act, like, I will literally write a 30,000 word chunk of story in 3 days, and then basically like go into a coma for a week. So there can be this wild variation in how much you write, just depending on where you're at. You know, that might be a thing that happens to you, might not be, and that's totally fine. So just, you know, there's nothing wrong with trying to up your game, but just keep in mind that you're gonna have variation. Like, you know, are you tired? Are you sick? Are you just writing a really difficult scene? Because that's gonna slow you down. And don't psych yourself out with numbers. And also keep in mind that even if you can only write a little bit every couple of days or whatever, as long as you keep going, you will eventually end up with a novel. And it might take a while, but there is an end to the road and you will get there. And that is also totally okay. It's not a race. The only person that you're having any kind of competition with, if you do that at all, is yourself. So that's all I wanted to say about that is it's possible to work up to writing more per day, but don't hurt yourself over it. And you're gonna have like your own natural process that you'll discover, and just keep experimenting until you find it. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. I have been Alex Axe, and I still am, and I'm gonna remember to say that if you thought it was helpful, or if you liked it, etc., please hit the little like button and subscribe and share it if you thought it was helpful. And if you didn't, thanks for listening to me anyway. And we're gonna get through this Monday together, and we're gonna come back on Tuesday and talk again, and we're gonna be cool. All right, we got this? We got this. All right, talk to you later.